Weekend Hangover crew. This is your boy Preach bringing you another episode. Today we're going to do Week 1 game recaps. Starting off with the Thursday night game, Bears versus Packers. Bears had 3, Packers had 10. To me, that Packers secondary, man, they are fast. They look good. I give it up to the general manager for, the off season, going in and getting those defensive players. Man, they fit that offense. All right, next up is Titans versus the Browns. Titans 43, Browns 13. To me, Mariota had a really quiet game. I didn't even know he put up the stats that he did until I looked it up. But he had 248 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. But the main takeaway I had from that game was that Titans defense. They were going after the Browns. They had, I believe, 5 sacks on Baker Mayfield, a few picks, pick 6 by Malcolm Butler. I want to keep an eye on that defense for the rest of the year. Next up is Browns versus the Dolphins. Ravens versus Dolphins. Ravens had 59, Dolphins had 10. The only takeaway I can say from this game is I just want to see what the Ravens can do in Week 2 to see if this is really true. And then the Dolphins, they're just tanking for the rest of the year. Players are asking to be traded. Giants versus Cowboys. Giants had 17. The Cowboys had 35. Now, the beginning of the game, it was a pretty good game. Giants were in it, but that defense is just so bad. The Cowboys basically just ran away with that game. Dak looked pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, he finished with a perfect QB rating. That's just going to boost up his contract. 49ers versus the Bucks. 49ers had 31. The Bucks had 17. In this game, both teams, period, have to clean up those penalties. Man, there were so many penalties in this game. And a lot of stupid penalties in this game at that. You have to clean up those penalties. I understand teams make penalties. Every team has penalties. But it's the dumb ones and stupid situations that you have to clean up. And they have to clean those up quick, or they're going to have a really long season. The Rams versus the Panthers. Rams had 30. Panthers had 27. I was not very impressed with either defense. For them boosting up these teams and all that kind of crazy stuff, I was not very impressed with either defense. But the main takeaway I had from that game was McCaffrey, who had a hell of a day. He had 200 total all-purpose yards. Was very impressive. Next up, we're going to go with the Chiefs and the Jags. Chiefs had 40. Jags had 26. Now, I don't get what the hell Miles Jack was doing in that game with getting ejected. What made him, if you know what made him go off, please throw it down in the comment section below. But what the hell made him turn into this Tasmanian devil just to go off to get ejected? I know he swung at a player, and that's what got him ejected. But what made him go off like that? Even after he got ejected, he went after the referees. He just kept going. But let me know. But there was 2 major injuries in that game. One was to Nick Foles. He had a broken clavicle, pretty much done for the season, which sucks for that Jags team. The other one was Tyreek Hill, who basically had a freakish accident. Got tackled out, basically on the sideline by Ramsey. Landed on his shoulder. Was hospitalized. Immediately rushed to the hospital. I don't know the full extent to that, what the issue was, but I know he is going to be out for at least 8 weeks on that. But if you happen to know if he's going to be done for the season or what the issue was or anything, throw it down in the comment section. Next up is Falcons versus the Vikings. Falcons had 12, Vikings had 28. The Falcons their defense is just bad. Okay, the Vikings could have just blew the door off of this game, and they didn't. They just decided to run the clock out and pretty much leave it at that. Falcons couldn't stop them. Next up is my Skins versus the Eagles. The only takeaway I had from this game is fuck you, Surf. Moving on. Colts versus Chargers. Colts had 24. Chargers had 30. Truth be told, man, Jacoby Brissett actually looked pretty good in this game. I was kind of worried for the Colts after the Andrew Luck retirement, but he didn't look bad. He basically took it into OT, tied it up at 24-24 when he threw a pass to T.Y. Hilton. Eckler, who I just absolutely hated because he was against me in fantasy football and he ate up. So basically, Eckler won him the game in overtime. Bengals versus Seahawks. Bengals had 20, Seahawks had 21. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't watch this game. It was a very boring game to me. Instead, I just decided to watch the Lions versus Cards. I'm sorry about that, but next up is Lions versus Cards. 27-27, they ended in a draw. Now, in the beginning of the game, Kyle Murray, he looked bad to me. He wasn't completing passes. He just looked like a chicken with his head cut off, running around back there in that pocket. But when that fourth quarter hit, that team stepped up. Defense kept them in it pretty much most of the game, and Kyle Murray was making some beautiful passes on the sidelines to Larry Fitzgerald, and basically led him back into that game. I give him credit for that. If that offense, for one, can stay like that, they did in that fourth quarter for the whole entire game, they may be a pretty scary team. I'm going to keep an eye on them and let you guys know. But the Lions, Matt Patricia, has got to be one of the dumbest head coaches I've seen in a long time. I understand he's a rocket scientist and all this crazy he's just smart as hell. But what the hell were they thinking with these damn timeouts and these play calls? First off, on offense, they wasted one of the timeouts because the offense was set up wrong or didn't like with the way the defense was set up for the way the offense was set up. I get it. But then as the Cards were driving downfield and hit a pass into the middle of the field, could have wasted 12 seconds off the clock and basically put the offense into hurry mode. But instead, he called a timeout for him immediately. I didn't get that. It was only 2 plays in, so you can't say it was because your defense was tired. Because if your defense was tired in 2 or 3 plays, then you're doing something wrong in the offseason not having that team ready. I think they're just that bad. I didn't get that, but we'll see throughout the rest of the year. Next up is Steelers versus the Patriots. Steelers had 3, Patriots had 33. Pittsburgh just looked bad. Juju didn't look like he could be a number 1 receiver going up against Gilmore. The only person on that offense I thought looked anything good was Connor. Defensively, I thought they were hanging in there in the beginning. But they pretty much got tired. Patriots just wore them down. And that was the end of that. Patriots look like the Patriots. I'm going to hate it when they get AB next week. Oh, that's going to suck. That's pretty much a Super Bowl ring. Next up, Texans versus Saints. Texans had 28. Saints had 30. All I'm going to say about this game is this was by far the game of the week. This was a really good game. You have to watch this game. It was just that good. The beginning, not so much, but the ending from, I'm going to say, halftime on was tremendous. That's one of the games I recommend that you guys should watch. Next up is Broncos versus Raiders. Broncos 16, Raiders 24. Now, the Broncos defense was not impressive, and that's supposed to be their strong suit. I mean, they couldn't stop the Raiders at all. They couldn't stop anything. I believe before halftime, Derek Carr was 11 for 12 for 100 yards. I mean, they just couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop Jacobs. They couldn't stop a lot. And offensively, the Raiders were killing them. The Raiders were just absolutely eating up. My man Carl Farrell, who I absolutely love, by the way, was eating them alive. He had a couple of sacks in that game, tackles for loss. But I want to see if the Raiders can continue that. They looked pretty good. They didn't need AB. They looked pretty good. But the Broncos, first off, that defense needs to step up and start stopping something, and that offense may be able to do something. But they were just playing from behind the whole time. But if you like the video, please throw a thumbs up. And if you have any comments, throw it down below. And until the next video, see ya.